Mr. Secretary General, colleagues, I thank Secretary General Guterres, the Special Coordinator for the Middle East peace process, for their briefings. I listened very carefully to the statements by the Palestinian Foreign Minister, the Israeli Permanent Representative to the UN, and the Foreign Ministers of Egypt and Jordan. I also welcome the representatives of Algeria and the Arab League to today's open debate. The escalation of conflicts between Israel and Palestine has caused heavy casualties, including those of women and children. The situation is dangerous and urgent. It calls for an immediate ceasefire and stop of violence. The international community must take actions right now and make every effort to avert further deterioration of the situation, prevent the region from backsliding into turbulence, and protect people's lives. Colleagues, the Palestinian question remains at the heart of the Middle East situation. Without stability in the Middle East, there can hardly be tranquility in the world. Only when the Palestinian question is resolved in a comprehensive, just, and durable manner can lasting peace and common security be truly realized in the Middle East. In light of the current tensions, China would like to propose the following. First, a ceasefire and stop of violence is the most pressing task. The use of force cannot ensure peace, nor can violence bring tranquility. All they bring is more seeds of hatred. China strongly condemns violence against civilians, and we once again urge the parties of the conflict to immediately cease military actions and hostilities and stop such moves as airstrikes, ground offensives, and rocket launches that aggravate the situation. It is important that Israel exercise restraint, earnestly observe the relevant UN resolutions, stop the demolition of Palestinian homes and the eviction of the Palestinian people, discontinuing its settlement expansion, put an end to the violence, threats, and provocations against Muslims, and maintain and respect the historical status quo of the holy sites in Jerusalem. Meanwhile, Palestine also needs to avoid steps that may further escalate the situation, avert civilian casualties, and work for an immediate de-escalation. Second, humanitarian assistance is urgently needed. The concurrence of the COVID pandemic and conflicts and turbulence has made the humanitarian crisis all the more challenging for the region. The situation in the Gaza Strip is particularly worrisome. We urge Israel to earnestly fulfill its obligations under international treaties, promptly and fully lift the blockade on and besiege of Gaza, guarantee the security and rights of the civilians in the occupied Palestinian territory, and facilitate the access of humanitarian assistance. The international community should extend humanitarian aid to Palestine via multiple channels and continue to support the work of the UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees in the Near East, or UNRWA, in an effort to improve the humanitarian situation in Palestine. The UN needs to play its coordinating role in planning for the international humanitarian emergency relief and make utmost efforts to avert a humanitarian disaster. Third, international support is a due obligation. The Security Council, shouldering the primary responsibility for safeguarding international peace and security, must take strong actions on the Palestine-Israel conflict, reiterate its firm support for the two-state solution, and do more to cool down the situation as soon as possible. China has been working with relevant countries on a Security Council press statement. Regrettably, simply because of the obstruction of one country, the Security Council hasn't been able to speak with one voice. We call upon the US to shoulder its due responsibilities, take a just position, and, together with most of the international community, support the Security Council in easing the situation, rebuilding trust, and advancing political settlement. We also support a more active role by the UN, the LAS, the OIC, and countries with important influence in the region. This will help galvanize more broad-based and effective efforts for peace. Fourth, the two-state solution is the fundamental way forward. Recent years have seen a derailment of the Middle East peace process. The relevant UN resolutions have not been effectively implemented. In particular, Palestine's right to establish an independent state has been persistently undermined, and the suffering of the Palestinian people further deepened, leading to the crisis we see today. What has happened proves once again that an enduring settlement can only be achieved on the basis of the two-state solution. The Palestine-Israel issue has been on the UN agenda for more than 70 years. Generations of Palestinians have waited year after year for the restoration of their legitimate national right, which still remains elusive. Justice is already running late, but it must not be forever absent. China supports a resumption of peace talks between Palestine and Israel on the basis of the two-state solution and as soon as possible. China supports the establishment of an independent state of Palestine that enjoys full sovereignty on the basis of the 1967 borders and with East Jerusalem as its capital, so as to fundamentally achieve peaceful coexistence between Palestine and Israel, harmony between the Arabs and the Jews, and lasting peace of the Middle East. Colleagues, China is a sincere friend of the Palestinian people. We have all along followed and believed in the Middle East peace process and maintained a staunch force for justice and fairness and for all efforts towards de-escalation. The current situation has further highlighted the significance of the four-point proposal on the Palestinian question put forth by President Xi Jinping in 2017. Since assuming presidency of the Council, China has attached particular importance to the current tensions in the Middle East and has facilitated multiple rounds of deliberations on the Palestinian question. China will scale up efforts to promote peace talks and earnestly perform our duty as the Council President. We reaffirm our invitation to Palestinian and Israeli peace advocates to continue their dialogue in China and welcome representatives of the two sides to come to China for direct negotiations. Every turbulence in Palestine-Israel relations is a warning to international rule of law, a test for multilateral cooperation, and a question for human conscience. Will the UN and its Security Council step forward and do what they should? People across the world are watching, and history is keeping account. We should and must stand in solidarity for peace and justice, for equity and conscience, and at the right side of history. We must practice true multilateralism and strive for an early, comprehensive, just, and enduring settlement of the Palestinian question. Thank you.